In the early stages of dating, everything can feel exciting. Conversations flow easily, attraction feels strong, and hope fills the gaps where information is missing. This is also the phase where most red flags are ignored, minimized, or explained away. The problem is not that red flags are always obvious. Most of the time, they are subtle, quiet, easy to dismiss. And that is exactly why they are dangerous. Today, we are diving deep into 7 tiny red flags people often miss in early dating. These signs may seem small on their own, but over time, they reveal patterns that can save you from emotional pain. Red flag 1: Inconsistent communication. Inconsistent communication is one of the earliest and most confusing warning signs in dating. It creates uncertainty instead of clarity, and leaves you constantly guessing where you stand. Healthy interest feels steady, not unpredictable. This red flag often shows up as hot and cold behavior. One day they are fully engaged, responsive, and attentive. The next day, they are distant, slow to reply, or emotionally unavailable without explanation. At first, it's easy to justify this pattern. You may tell yourself they are busy, stressed, or not great at texting. While everyone has off days, inconsistency becomes a problem when it happens regularly. Inconsistent communication keeps you emotionally off balance. You start checking your phone more often, rereading messages, and analyzing tone. Instead of enjoying the connection, you feel anxious and unsure. This pattern can also create an uneven power dynamic. The person who communicates inconsistently controls the pace, while the other person adapts, waits, and overthinks. Over time, this can impact self-esteem. Another sign is when clarity is avoided. If you ask directly about the communication shift and receive vague answers or defensiveness, that is important information. Healthy partners are willing to communicate openly. Inconsistent communication may indicate emotional unavailability, lack of genuine interest, or poor communication skills. Whatever the reason, the result is the same: emotional confusion. Early dating should feel exciting and secure, not stressful. When communication patterns leave you feeling unsettled, your intuition is trying to protect you. Consistency doesn't mean constant contact. It means reliability. It means words and actions align, and effort doesn't disappear without reason. Pay attention to how their communication makes you feel. Feeling calm, valued, and respected is the standard. Anything that repeatedly leaves you questioning your worth deserves attention. Noticing this red flag early allows you to step back, ask honest questions, and decide if this dynamic truly meets your emotional needs. In healthy connections, communication builds trust over time. Inconsistent communication slowly breaks it. Red flag 2: Avoiding emotional depth. Avoiding emotional depth is a subtle sign that often gets mistaken for being easygoing or low drama. At first, light conversations and humor can feel refreshing, especially in early dating. But over time, the absence of deeper emotional connection becomes noticeable. This red flag shows up when conversations never move beyond surface topics. You talk about work, hobbies, jokes, or plans, but real feelings are rarely discussed. When emotions come up, the moment quickly changes. Some people avoid emotional depth because it feels uncomfortable or unsafe to them. They may not have learned how to talk about feelings or may associate emotional closeness with past pain. When emotional topics are introduced, they might respond with humor, distractions, or vague answers. Serious moments are softened, minimized, or brushed aside instead of being explored. You may notice that when you share something personal, the response feels shallow or quickly redirected back to something lighter. This can leave you feeling unseen or emotionally alone. Avoiding emotional depth often limits intimacy. Without emotional sharing, connection stays shallow, even if physical attraction or companionship is strong. Over time, this pattern can create emotional imbalance. One person longs for deeper understanding, while the other keeps the relationship at a safe distance. This gap slowly leads to frustration or loneliness. It's important to remember that emotional depth doesn't mean constant heavy conversations. It means being open when feelings matter and willing to explore meaningful topics when they arise. When emotional avoidance becomes a pattern, it may signal emotional unavailability. This does not make someone bad, but it does make long-term connection difficult. Early dating is when emotional curiosity should naturally grow. If depth is consistently avoided, it's worth paying attention. Healthy relationships thrive on emotional honesty and mutual openness. When one person resists emotional depth, true closeness struggles to form. Noticing this red flag early helps you decide whether the connection has room to grow or will remain emotionally limited. Red flag 3. Subtle disrespect disguised as humor. Subtle disrespect disguised as humor is one of the most overlooked warning signs in early dating. It often hides behind jokes, sarcasm, or playful teasing, making it easy to dismiss or excuse. At first, these comments may seem harmless. A small joke about your choices, your opinions, or your personality might even be laughed off. But underneath the humor, there is often a lack of respect. This red flag appears when jokes leave you feeling slightly uncomfortable, embarrassed, or smaller than before. Even if you smile or laugh along, something inside feels off. Disrespectful humor often targets your insecurities. It may involve comments about your appearance, intelligence, emotions, or boundaries. When pointed out, the response is usually, "I was just joking." That phrase is important. Humor that requires you to silence your discomfort is not playful. Healthy humor never needs you to doubt your feelings. Another sign is repetition. One joke might be harmless. Repeated comments in the same direction form a pattern. Patterns reveal intention more clearly than isolated moments. Subtle disrespect can also test boundaries. The person may be watching to see what they can get away with. If the behavior continues after discomfort is visible, it shows disregard for your emotional safety. Over time, these small moments can affect confidence. You may begin second-guessing yourself, questioning your reactions, or minimizing your own feelings to keep the peace. True humor builds connection. It makes both people feel included, safe, and respected. It never comes at the expense of someone's dignity. Pay attention to how humor feels in your body. Laughter that feels tense, forced, or uneasy is information worth listening to. Early dating is where respect should be clear and consistent. If humor repeatedly leaves you feeling diminished, it's a sign to pause and reflect. Recognizing this red flag early protects your self-respect and helps you choose connections where kindness is not optional, even in laughter. Red flag 4. Talking badly about everyone from their past. Talking badly about everyone from their past is a subtle but powerful warning sign. At first, it may sound like honesty or openness, especially when they share stories about difficult experiences. But when every past relationship is described in a negative way, it deserves attention. This red flag shows up when all ex-partners are labeled as toxic, crazy, selfish, or the problem. There is no balance, reflection, or personal responsibility in the stories being told. Everyone has had at least one challenging relationship. That alone is not the issue. The concern arises when a person cannot acknowledge their own role in any past conflict. When someone consistently blames others, it suggests a lack of self-awareness. Growth comes from reflection, not from pointing fingers. Without accountability, the same patterns often repeat. This pattern can also be a way to gain sympathy. By portraying themselves as the victim in every story, they avoid examining their own behaviors and emotional patterns. Another important detail is tone. If past partners are spoken about with bitterness, contempt, or mockery, it shows unresolved emotions. Unprocessed resentment often carries into new relationships. Over time, this behavior can create unease. You may begin to wonder how you will be described one day if the relationship ends. This thought alone is a warning sign. Healthy individuals can talk about their past with maturity. They can acknowledge mistakes, lessons learned, and growth, even when the experience was painful. Talking badly about everyone from the past may also signal difficulty with empathy. It becomes easier to criticize others than to understand complexity. Early dating is a window into how someone handles conflict, responsibility, and reflection. The way they speak about people who are no longer in their life is revealing. Listening carefully in these moments gives you valuable information. Patterns in storytelling often reveal patterns in behavior. Recognizing this red flag early helps you protect yourself from repeating cycles and choose relationships rooted in accountability and emotional maturity. Red flag 5. Rushing intimacy or commitment. Rushing intimacy or commitment can feel flattering at first. Intense attention, frequent contact, and strong emotional statements may seem like passion or certainty. But speed without foundation is something to approach carefully. This red flag shows up when emotional closeness is pushed before trust has had time to develop. Deep declarations, future promises, or pressure to define the relationship too quickly can feel overwhelming rather than comforting. Healthy intimacy grows through shared experiences, consistency, and mutual understanding. When someone rushes this process, it often skips the steps that create real emotional safety. Some people rush commitment because they fear abandonment. Others do it to secure control, avoid loneliness, or create dependence. The reasons vary, but the impact is often the same. When things move too fast, you may feel confused about your own pace. You might question whether your natural need for time is wrong or selfish. Rushed intimacy can also blur boundaries. You may feel pushed to share personal details, emotional vulnerability, or physical closeness before you are ready. Another sign is when slowing down is met with resistance. If you express the need for space and are met with guilt, pressure, or disappointment, it indicates a lack of respect for your comfort level. Real connection allows room for choice. It doesn't require urgency to survive. Mutual interest remains strong even when things unfold gradually. Fast intensity can mask incompatibility. When everything moves quickly, there is little space to observe behavior, communication patterns, or emotional maturity. Early dating should feel exciting but grounded. It should support curiosity, not pressure. Trust your inner sense of timing. Feeling rushed is not a sign of romance. It is a signal to pause. Recognizing this red flag early helps you protect your boundaries and build relationships based on stability rather than emotional speed. Red flag 6. Your boundaries are tested early. When someone tests your boundaries early in dating, it often happens in quiet and subtle ways. It may not feel dramatic, but it sends an important message about how they handle limits and respect. This red flag appears when your comfort level is pushed before trust is established. You might feel pressured to give more time, attention, or emotional access than you are ready for. Boundary testing can show up as repeated requests after you have already said no. Instead of accepting your answer, the person may keep asking in different ways or make you feel guilty for holding your ground. Another sign is minimizing your boundaries. Comments like, "You're overthinking," or "It's not a big deal," dismiss your feelings and suggest your limits are unreasonable. Sometimes boundaries are tested through emotional pressure. You may feel responsible for their happiness or discomfort when you choose what feels right for you. Early boundary testing often reveals how someone will behave later. If limits are ignored at the beginning, they are unlikely to be respected when emotions are deeper. Healthy partners respond to boundaries with understanding. They may not always agree, but they respect your comfort and adjust their behavior. When boundaries are crossed repeatedly, you may start doubting yourself. You might feel the need to explain or justify your needs instead of honoring them. Your boundaries exist to protect your emotional and mental well-being. They are not obstacles to connection. They are the foundation of it. Early dating is where boundaries should be clear and respected without resistance. This creates safety and trust. Pay attention to how someone responds when you set a limit. Their reaction tells you more than their words ever could. Recognizing this red flag early helps you maintain self-respect and choose relationships where your boundaries are honored, not challenged. Red flag 7. You feel the need to shrink yourself. Feeling the need to shrink yourself is one of the quietest but most serious warning signs in dating. It doesn't show up as a clear action from the other person. Instead, it shows up in how you start changing yourself. This red flag appears when you begin holding back your thoughts, opinions, or emotions to avoid upsetting the other person. You may speak less, share less, or second-guess your natural reactions. You might notice yourself filtering your words before you speak. Conversations feel rehearsed rather than natural. Instead of being present, you are constantly monitoring how you are coming across. Shrinking yourself can also look like minimizing your needs. You tell yourself your feelings are not important, or that asking for more would be too much. Over time, this behavior creates emotional exhaustion. Being someone you are not takes energy, and the relationship starts to feel heavy instead of supportive. This pattern often develops when you sense disapproval, unpredictability, or emotional distance. Even without direct criticism, your body learns that being fully yourself feels risky. Healthy relationships expand you. They make you feel more confident, expressive, and secure. You don't have to perform or earn acceptance. When you feel safe, you don't shrink. You grow. You laugh freely, speak honestly, and show up without fear of rejection. If you find yourself becoming quieter, smaller, or less expressive over time, it's important to pause and reflect. Your instincts are responding to something real. You should never have to abandon parts of yourself to keep someone interested. Connection built on self-suppression is not sustainable. Early dating should allow you to discover who someone is, not hide who you are. Recognizing this red flag early protects your identity and helps you choose relationships where you are valued for your full self, not a reduced version of it. Now here is the most important truth. Tiny red flags are not meant to be judged individually. They matter because they repeat. Patterns reveal character far more than charm ever will. Ignoring early signs does not make them disappear. It only delays the moment they become impossible to ignore. Awareness is not about being negative or suspicious. It is about being emotionally intelligent and self-protective. You are not asking for too much when you want consistency, respect, and emotional safety. You are asking for the basics. Let's summarize. Early dating red flags often show up as inconsistency, emotional avoidance, subtle disrespect, lack of accountability, rushed intensity, boundary testing, and self-abandonment. Noticing these signs early gives you power. Power to slow down. Power to ask questions. Power to choose yourself. Healthy relationships do not require you to ignore your instincts. They require you to trust them. Thank you for watching. If this helped you see dating more clearly, take a moment to reflect on your experiences. Awareness today prevents heartbreak tomorrow.